Right, we will do another quick video here. So the night of anxiety on repairing the bike has come to an end, which is really, really good. I maximised my time at the hotel. I had the craziest story yesterday. So basically, like, I was running on a flat tyre for 400 kilometres and I was pumping it up originally every 50 minutes, and of course as the tyre became more, the inner tube became more essentially destroyed, it went to 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and then it got to the point where I was pumping the tyre every 8 minutes, and I decided just to walk it. And then I noticed that the tyre had blown out, so the actual tyre had come off the rim, which made me think that actually the tyre had been damaged as a result of one of the brake pads being locked on the rim, which was creating friction and eroding the inner seal of the tyre. That's basically something I read online, and it looked like a blowout to me. It looked like the tyre had blown off the rim. So at this point I was 20 k's from Karlsruhe, which is actually when I predicted the worst case scenario that this would happen, and it happened exactly on that point. So it was a 4.5 hour walk, and Google once again gave me the wrong directions. So there was a route across the river, which ordinarily 99% of the time you'd assume would be a bridge, right? So I get to this river, there's no bridge, and there's all these people waiting for a boat that you have to pay for. And of course it's Germany, so they don't have card, so they only take cash, and I had already used all my cash. I'm in the middle of the countryside, so I then had to go all the way back to what would be a 4.5 hour walk. And then all of a sudden the tyre started to come off the rim completely, which was the worst case scenario. So obviously you can walk a bike if the tyre is damaged and there's some problem with the inner tube. But then on a Sunday when nothing's open, if the tyre starts to come off the rim, you can't even push the bike, especially because it's laden with 30 kilos. So at this point I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'd booked a nice hotel in Karlsruhe as well, which I was looking forward to. And at this point I was already going to miss check-in by a couple of hours, i.e., first check-in. All of a sudden a Japanese guy comes out of nowhere. We're in the middle of the German-French borderland wilderness with all these cycling routes and not many people around, just small villages. And there's a Japanese guy comes out of nowhere, and he just is like, oh, I can help you repair your tyre. And I was like, oh my God, this is the most brilliant thing ever. And I have never ever repaired a tyre, as I've already said before, never replaced an inner tube. I know nothing about bikes. This is obviously a first time thing. And yeah, this Japanese guy comes along and he's like, yeah, I've got all this stuff, I can help you, I've got the tubes. I was like, no, it's all right, I've got the tubes and all that kind of stuff. So I said, okay, let's go. And this guy was like a really eccentric traveller, like one of those people you come across usually in like South America or Central Asia, like hardcore travellers, people that he's just using warmshowers.com, couch surfing, that kind of stuff, like, on a shoestring budget, just a 15 kilo rucksack to basically travel around for just months on end, and a mountain bike. And his hands were cut to pieces. He looked like he had some kind of disease, but it's obviously every time he's repaired a tyre or he's doing something, he's very hands-on, so all his hands are like totally trashed up. So anyway, so we get to taking the nuts off because you have to remove the back wheel, and essentially the bike is such a bad quality bike that the right nuts and bolts were sealed so tightly that neither of us could take them off. We got the left one off straight away, the right one was jammed on, but it snapped the tools and started to damage his own tools. So we decided we'd try, and instead of removing the inner tube and replacing it with a fresh, we just try and patch the original one, in which case you don't actually have to remove the whole tyre. You can rip or unseal the tyre from the rim, and then you can just try and patch it within the rim itself. So we did that. He did that. And it took like an hour. We were like chatting away, and it got to the point where there was enough of a seal left to maintain the tyre for about 15 to 20 minutes back to what it was before it came off the rim. Before a pump, which was enough to get to Karlsruhe because it's only 20 k's away on cycling route. So I got to Karlsruhe, checked into my hotel, got 100% of all my admin done. Yeah, basically 100%, everything. Like, got all my laundry done, just charged all my devices, went to the supermarket, just had a good sleep, all the stuff. And then the next morning I was dreading having to go to a cycling shop to find out that you know, I need a fresh tyre, and potentially there's loads of other things. So there's a kind of, I guess, iconic cycling shop in Karlsruhe, which is a semi-museum. I didn't know, the guy was telling me, the nicest owner ever, was telling me that the bicycle was actually founded here by a chap that also invented the typewriter and numerous other things. And I actually popped down a few hours before checkout, and there was no one there, so I decided what I'd do is I'd pack everything on the bike, and that way, you know, it looks more like, you know, it's an emergency scenario, which it is, because I'm obviously bike touring and I need to get from A to B to C to D in a certain amount of time. And he just happened to be there, and he said, "Oh, I'm never here on a Monday. This is a pure coincidence." He was showing a chap around, and yeah, the guy just helped me with a bike, and we put the new inner tube in. He repaired so many things on the bike, or just adjusted them, you know, got the brakes done again, fixed some dodgy ball bearings, removed my errad, I don't know what you're going to call it, pannier rack joint, which was affecting the ability for the chain to get into certain gears, as it was like restricting the movement. And yeah, basically just like did like a little service of the bike, and we were chatting away for hours, and he showed me into his museum, and he showed me a copy of the original first bicycle ever to be constructed. And it's one of those things, really, because I was really quite anxious about going to a bike shop, because it's a bit like car salesman, you know, where they try and charge you for things that you don't need. They try and, like, you know, pretend that it's worse than it actually is. This was the most authentic guy I could find on Google, though he had a few bad Google reviews, so I was a little bit kind of like apprehensive as to, you know, given what the reviews said, if it was going to be a nice interaction. And it just turned out to be one of the nicest interactions ever. A true kind of bike enthusiast, to the point where he's been running that shop for 35 years. He runs a museum out of it. He's heavily involved in local government, at least trying to push local government to have essentially a monument / museum / you know, something that dedicates the kind of the rightful attention to the inventor of the bicycle, who I didn't know came from Karlsruhe. I also didn't know that Mr. Mercedes-Benz came from Karlsruhe as well, although Mercedes is now based in Stuttgart. But yeah, very interesting. So in the end, did all of that. He gave me like some stickers, and he gave me a custom tool that he built, because my tools weren't suitable for certain things, and all for €10, which was really, really good. So very pleased with that. I'm just going to take a break now. I've got a feeling I can actually probably make it to Stuttgart today. It's 81 kilometres. Yeah, feeling pretty fresh. I'm just going to have some lunch. I don't mind going through up to 8 p.m. I mean, it's obviously getting lighter into the evenings and night time now, so I've got plenty of time. So I might just give that a go. And yeah, really, really good to have that behind me, and knowing that, you know, actually right now, at least as things stand, the tyre's fine. It was just an inner tube issue. That's now been replaced with a better inner tube. You know, we've got good pressure on the tyres and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, not too bad. And Stuttgart or nearby will be the agenda, and then we're looking to get to Munich. And I almost was, I say almost, but I'm very tempted to get the train on these kinds of occasions where, you know, there's a problem with the bike, and it's just so much easier just to jump on a train, especially because I've got credit with Omio and I don't really have to pay for train tickets. It's you know, it's very tempting, but I'm glad I've refrained, and hopefully we'll get to the end of at least Germany before that temptation comes back in. And I'll be able to stop at, like I said in the previous video, the WeWork in Munich for a couple of beers and a bit of work. And I say work, a bit of, you know, administration, which I consider to be work. And that's the gist thus far. So I'll post another video later, just to conclude whether or not I made it to Stuttgart, and yeah, continue on the trend throughout the week.